Hello, and welcome to the beautiful people out there who are hanging in through thick and thin. Okay, everybody. Trump would have met with the Saudi prince by now, but I just thought I'd have a little look at that. It's hard to take your eyes off everything else. So, Saudi, strange place, strange prince. I think you can't really look at what's happening with Saudi without looking at the long-term relationship. And you can't really look at the relationship between the US and Saudi without looking at the Iraq War. Okay, now in Australia we say Iraq, you guys say Iraq. So just tuning you in, Iraq. Okay. So Australia has always backed every American conflict since the Second World War. We're always the first ones in. And normal presidents, need I say more, normal presidents acknowledge this strange sort of fraternal relationship. And apparently we're being rewarded because an aircraft carrier is being named after us, the Canberra or something. Okay, so no matter which of our government is in, Conservative or Labor, if America goes into any military confrontation, Australia goes in, no questions asked, no public discussion. So we've always been there. Okay, so after 9/11, and our government at the time said, okay, when the US says jump, we'll jump, you know, wherever they want to go. And then they said, okay, we're going to send troops to Iraq. Now, our military generals then did a step back and said, why, if 15 of the 19 hijackers are Saudis, are we going to Iraq? Now, our government said, don't ask, and off our personnel went to Iraq and Afghanistan. Now, it was a bit different in the UK and the US. The UK and the rest of Europe. And there was much more discussion, much more upset, protests in the street, the Conservatives as well as the Labor voters saying to Tony Blair, who was the Prime Minister, do not do this. If you destabilise Saddam Hussein suddenly with shock and awe, you will also destabilise the whole of the Middle East. It'll lead to huge displacement of people. It's an unwinnable war. Don't go there. Now, Tony Blair then said they were going there and they sent their troops in as well. But the difference is that conversation in France and Germany and everywhere kept going and going and going. This is nutty, you know, what's happening here. And of course it has led to the destabilising of the Middle East and 4 million Iraqis displaced and a power vacuum that they predicted. They said it'll lead to a power vacuum that was filled by the Taliban and then ISIS. And then that led to Syria, and here we are. So it's hard to take a look at Saudi without looking at all that, because Saudi sailed through that. It was business as usual. So we were all horrified by the ISIS beheadings, even if you didn't watch them, and yet the Saudis have been beheading constantly. They're never pulled up, not just by the US, but by other Western countries. They're never seriously pulled up about human rights. So we know it's about the oil. So they've always got away with everything because of the oil. Now along comes the new baby prince, Mohammed bin Salman, I think it is. So he's young. On the one hand, he wants to modernise, you know, let women drive, how radical, and allow more modernisation generally, which will make him popular with young people. And then he also, I think, arrested something like 200 of his cousins, and a few of those didn't make it. And so he's a mix. He's a despot who's on the one hand, I'm sure, very charming and sounds like he's doing good things if you're not on his bad side. So Trump loves a despot. Give him a good tyrant any day of the week. So how would that go? Oops. There's two of those, so I'm putting them back. All right. So this is a retrospective of a couple of days ago, I guess, when they had the meeting. So what, if anything, was discussed or came out of this meeting? So Trump and the Saudi prince. Trump and the Saudi prince. Okay. All right. Okay, let's start with these first three cards here, shall we? Oh, someone in comments said it was scary when I reach out to the screen to move it. I might try and move my hand to the side. So, you know, I try and show me and the cards. As you know from watching other readers, everyone does it differently. Probably no one has it quite right, but this is my method. Okay. So in the middle we have group work around money. So money was discussed. And it may be a surprise to you or maybe not. There's an element of black money here, and this is somewhat shady element in this context, you would have to think. Okay, the essence of the reading, all about money, but both sides are holding on to money. In other words, Trump doesn't want to spend any more money. I wonder sometimes how much or how little he's actually got, you know, that's another question. He's not that willing to part with money, and I think because this reading's about both of them, I think the Saudi prince played Kushner and has no intention of giving him significant money either. So I think, funnily enough, they're both holding on to the money, and this group work, meaning Saudi and America, will be talking about those arms deals. You know, we tut-tut about despots and tyrants and then sell them arms. You know, I mean, it's the hypocrisy of capitalism in the world. So there will be the deal struck, but on a personal level, neither of them wants to part with their personal money. Who had the upper hand over this? That would be the young leader, the young prince. Largely because any of the world leaders come away and then talk in their own media domains about encountering Trump. I've yet to hear of a single leader of any country who had anything positive to say about Trump. They either dismiss him as a total idiot or they just talk diplomatic speak. You know, I'm sure our countries can work together, etc., and just say nothing with lots of words. So Bin Salman came out on top of the encounter, which wouldn't have been a surprise. Or Trump, the emperor, underneath, bit grumpy. Now, you'd have to say Trump might have been a little preoccupied. I mean, it's wall to wall, you know, porn stars, Playboy bunnies, failed apprentice assistants who aren't getting any younger, and all the other political chaos. And it's quite possible he didn't have his giant intellect finely honed. So in any event, he's vaguely pissed off by the meeting, maybe because he couldn't dazzle the Saudi prince as he was dazzled with the golden orb, lest we forget the golden orb experience. Okay, so motoring on. Oh, recent past, death. So things reached a new low recently. I wonder if that wasn't Kushner ploughing around in the Middle East. That's my first impression of what that was about. I haven't got an absolutely clear idea of why the relationship took a tumble. In fact, I would go as far as to say if this meeting hadn't been scheduled, it mightn't have gone ahead. I think Kushner has made a fool of himself and the country much more widely than is possibly appreciated. Okay, over this reading, it really didn't go well. They were disappointed in each other. I mean, you've got the death and there. Oh. So, if the Saudis were pissed off about Kushner's behaviour, even though Kushner threw Qatar under a bus and went with the Saudis, it wasn't enough. It was perfectly obvious to them he didn't have a clue. And Trump, it seems, didn't have the diplomatic skills to woo him. And they came away both disappointed. So there'll be handshaking and arms deals, but they were both disappointed in each other. All right, coming up, yes, this is the public face. This is the public face of we're working together. Isn't it wonderful? Between us, we have more weapons, so more people can die and end up as refugees all over the world and through Europe that is turning to the alt-right and everything else. So, cause for celebration. They've done a brilliant job, these two. Awesome. Really, I didn't rig these cards. How did they see themselves? The Tower. This really didn't go well. This was a shocker, even by Trump standards. This has left the relationship that wasn't marvellous and was hurtful in absolute tatters. It's funny, Trump might be the one to bring that relationship down, completely unintentionally, because he's a complete naive sort of cretin stumbling around the global stage. But, I didn't really expect this. Over that, hope. So, shit, followed by the fact there is some hope. There will always be hope. Why? Because there's oil. I just coined a new phrase. When there's oil, there's hope. So something will be sorted. It'll be talked about as a success, right? So it's a case of the Saudis and most of the Middle Eastern regions saying we've got to deal with this absolute nutcase. He has the brain of a 3-year-old in a coma. We can make it work for us. Okay, here we have, this is confirming the hope and the deals. The Three of Wands, commerce and trade with overseas. So this has been bigger than every individual president, and it's bigger than Republican, Democratic bitching and moaning. It's big oil, big power. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if Tillerson, as the Exxon man rather than the Secretary of State, Tillerson Exxon, got straight to them and said, look, ignore everything you hear in this meeting and we'll talk afterwards. They both came away with a sense of nostalgia. It was better before. It was better before Trump. There was this long-term, like I said, intergenerational understanding of how this relationship would work, and it's always gone very smoothly. And even after 9/11, there wasn't so much as a smack on the wrist. That's how strong that relationship is. Although Trump, you never know. Further out, the King of Wands. what does that mean? I have to think about that. It could be that the new young Saudi leader morphs in, this is in the future, the King of Wands. I think that's quite a likely outcome. Trump as the Emperor, or as some are calling him, the Mad King, is less likely to evolve into any leadership model. So I'll take that to be the Saudi prince. And a bit further out from there, it's going to be hard work to save this relationship. It's never been hard work, it's always been a given. And that means that the West just kowtows to Saudi, and it's been a very simple relationship, if nothing else. But the landscape of the Middle East is more complex. Russia is fully involved all over the Middle East. And this relationship is going to require hard work. Oh, well, there you go, trendsetters. For what it's worth, the relationship has taken a bit of a battering, which may be why there was so little coverage of it. Anyway, we shall see. Bye for now.